lovely friends, it's Margaret. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're embarking on what is probably going to be a year-long project. One of the things that was kind of a low-key goal for me in 2022, and is definitely going to be a goal for me in 2023, is reading more widely when it comes to genre. And I thought, what better way to stretch my reading to kind of go outside of my comfort zone than to sit down and read from the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2022. I am going to be doing it with a little bit of a twist because I'm not just going to be reading the winners, I am going to be reading the winner and the loser. I wanted to take you guys with me on this process, and I figured why not just bring you there from the beginning. So today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be sitting down and going through the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2022 and seeing what the winner and the loser for each category is, so I know what books I'm going to be reading. We will be breaking this up into multiple vlogs. This is not me reading all, I think there's 20 categories, so this is not me reading 40 books in one vlog. Each vlog is going to have 3 or 4 genres depending on how the breakdown happens. I'd be more than happy to do a deep dive into some of these finalists, but this is where I am starting. There are so many different conversations that can be had about the Goodreads Choice Awards. We know that it's a popularity contest, all of that good stuff. Like the fact that sequels are allowed to be nominated for this. It's just, there's a lot of stuff that does not make it the most representative of how people read, in my opinion. Plenty of videos that you can go and you can find and you can watch on that, and I am sure we are going to get into some of that in some of the vlogs. That's not what we're here to do right now, though. Let's go ahead, let's see what we're dealing with, and we will go from there. Okay, so fiction. The winner for fiction, we're looking at Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I know how to read. Fiction is not one of the genres that I usually, just general fiction, gravitate towards. I've read some, but it's one of those things that, it's harder when you're looking at general fiction to find books that I know I'm gonna like, and I tend to go in, usually, this may be an exception, but I tend to go into things trying to find books that I am going to enjoy. I don't want to pick up a book because I dislike it and not have a fun time reading it. Hold on, this is bothering me. It's one of those things, I don't gravitate towards fiction, although there is some really well-written fiction, general fiction stuff out there. It just hit and miss for me. I absolutely adored A Man Called Uva by Frederick Bachman, but the one Ishiguro book, Remains of the Day, I think it was, that I read, I was like, this is interesting. It's a 3-star though. I wasn't really, it didn't fill me with joy the way that A Man Called Uva did. So Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow was the winner, and then, oh god, Hanya Yanagihara won. I have a friend that has some very strong opinions on that book. And then the one with the least amount of votes is Now Is Not the Time to Panic by Kevin Wilson. I literally I've committed to reading these without knowing a thing about it. 2 teenage misfits who spectacularly collide one fatal summer and the art they make. Okay, so that sounds like... Okay, so it sounds like we're going to be looking this is almost like a dual timeline narrative, which actually, dual timelines work really well for me. One of the ones I realized that with is Black Rabbit Hall by Ava Chase. Those tend to work really well for me. I don't know why I like dual timelines so much, but for some reason I do. Let's go back, looking at mystery thriller is our next genre that we're going to be looking at. Mystery thriller is one of those genres that, like science fiction, I absolutely adore when I sit down to read it, but I don't read it as often as I would like to, so I'm trying to fix that. Okay, so we've got The Maid by Nita Prose was the winner. This is apparently the one that was not made into a TV show or a movie. There's one that is a movie, and one that is not. Apparently Florence Pugh is going to be in the title role. And then the worst one on here is lowest number of votes is More Than You'll Ever Know by Katie Gutierrez. Oh! Laura Rivera was married to 2 men at once until on a baking hot day. Ma'am! Impressive. So we're dealing with a true crime writer. That's our main character, and she's obsessed with this woman who was married to 2 different men, and then there was a murder-suicide, it looks like, maybe. Next, we're looking at historical fiction, another genre that I like, but I haven't been reading as much of. The winner is going to be Taylor Jenkins Reid, and then, so we're getting that one. And then 4 Treasures of the Sky by Jenny Tinhui Zhang. is the least voted. I'm not going to say the worst book because, like, it made it to the finals of the Goodreads Choice Awards. That's got to be a pretty darn good book. So this is about a girl who was kidnapped and smuggled across from China to America. Moving on, we have fantasy. Sarah J. Maas won with House of Sky and Breath. So I have another video coming out in which I will have read the first book in the Crescent City series. The fact that the first book is not Crescent City, that's a better title than House of Earth of Blood. I'm sorry, Sarah, it is. Anyways, I have another video coming out in which I will have actually read that, so I will actually read House of Sky and Breath book 2 for this particular video. Normally what I would do is if it's a series that I have not read, I would read the first book or whatever the most recent book is, but I think for this one, I am in fact going to try to like get through, especially since I'm going to have time for a lot of these. The loser on here is Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro. Okay, we're in Victorian London. I'm going to enjoy this one. This is going to be fun for me. That's one of my favorite time periods to read about. Like, it's up there with the Tudors. I'm like, I will read anything about those. Usually it's nonfiction, though. So, moving on to romance. The winner of the romance category was Emily Henry's Book Lovers. There's a whole bunch of Colleen Hoover, and the fact that she's on there is concerning. Anyways, I've heard there are a lot on here that I am interested in because I've heard people talking about them. But The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa, which is Brianna from Four Paws in a Book, one of her favorite books, but The Wedding Crasher is the one with the least number of votes for this particular category. I feel kind of sad for Brianna that a book that she loved so much is so, I mean, again, it's top 20, so like top 20 of all the books published in 2022. I still feel like that's a flex, even if you didn't win. Moving on to science fiction, Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel won. The video I have coming out is going to have me having read a lot of the science fiction novels, it looks like. But Sea of Tranquility is the one that won. Leviathan Falls is the one that I voted for before I read it, technically, but you would have gotten my vote even after I read it. And, I'm not sure how I feel about that title, but Primitives by Eric Krauss is the novel that got the least number of votes here in SFF. Or science fiction, I guess, because there's not fantasy here. This is one that I would be interested in going into more and reading more of the books that were here. I am not quite sure how to handle the fact that by the time we get to this particular genre, I will have already read Sea of Tranquility, so I'm not sure if that means that I should read the next one on the list, which is The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, or if I should just, like, stick with what I've read and just not have to read a book. Alrighty, moving on to horror. You can tell how much I have interacted with the Goodreads Choice Awards that I am just now figuring out that, like, they have the bar on the left and then they also have them at the bottom. Okay, so best horror. This one is going to be an interesting one, and I'm going to need people's feedback on it, but we'll get there in a minute. So best horror, we're looking at Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulik, and then the worst one is The Fervor by Amakatsu. I don't know a lot about this one. I know it's Hidden Pictures. I know that there is something about a a nanny, it says, and he is doing some stuff that's kind of weird to her. And then The Fervor by Amakatsu. Okay, so this one is based in the historical setting of the Japanese-American internment camps during World War II. Normally, I would actually not read Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulik because I have heard that the twist at the end is very transphobic. I've heard a little bit about it, and from what has been explained to me, I definitely agree with that, especially coming from the background that I come from. However, I do come from that background, and I've heard that there are a lot of right-wing talking points in there, so I think that, like, I'm not an expert, but also I think I would be able to break down some of those. Obviously, I'm not trans, so obviously I'm not going to be able to really have much of a conversation on that, except that, yeah, this is messed up. But, like, I'm curious to see, do you guys want to see me read this one and maybe kind of discuss some of the stuff that kind of leads up to that twist and why that twist is there and the politics of it, because I've heard from friends that like the politics of it is very apparent throughout the novel. Or should I just go ahead and read the second book on the list, which is The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas? I am cool with either one. I'd be interested to see what you guys want. It's one of those things where I don't want to be furthering the spread of a transphobic book or author, but at the same time there are elements of the plot that I have experience with, that I know about, that I have been deprogramming from my brain for the last 10 years probably. 10, probably more. 10 is being generous. Probably more like 7 years. I just feel like I would like to have some other opinions from people before I start, before I make a decision on that. And if you're here to say, no, Margaret, it's not transphobic, save that comment. I don't care. Moving on, we have humor. This is a genre I never read. Let's see. The winner is The Office BFFs, Tales of the Office from Two Best Friends Who Were There, and it's by Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey. So it's the people who played Pam and Angela on the show. All right, and then the one that people didn't like, the original Queens of Stand-Up Comedy, In on the Joke, by Sean Levy. Is he related to like Eugene Levy of like Schitt's Creek? This is about female comics who kind of made it so that women are able to be a part of the comedy scene. So it sounds like that's going to be more like a funny history, I guess. This one right here, The 90s, a book. We had one of those phones. I'm sorry, I saw the phone. I couldn't not say something. We had one of those phones when I was a kid. I accidentally called 911 on it. We've moved on to nonfiction. Atlas of the Heart, Mapping Meaningful Connection in the Language of Human Experience by Brené Brown. Oh, cool. I've been wanting to read something by her for quite a while, so I think like that's going to be awesome. This is one that I think I may dive into just because, oh, look at that. All the Living and the Dead. What is... From embalmers to executioners and exploration of the people who have made death their life's work. I'm gonna add that to my, we're adding that to my want to read right now, because regardless of whether I go back in, I want to. And then the one that got the least number of votes was Building a Second Brain, a proven method to organize your digital life and unlock your creative potential. Oh boy, do I need that. Ooh, I think I need to read this one too. Stolen Focus, Why You Can't Pay Attention to How to Think Deeply Again. I don't know, that might be one that is helpful, that might be one that's just moral posturing. We're going into memoir and autobiography. One that I absolutely am reading. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I am only mad now that I will have to wait to read this book. Okay, Easy Beauty, a memoir by Chloe Cooper Jones. I have no idea who that person is, but we're reading her memoir apparently. Oh, it sounds like she's a writer. Pulitzer Prize is writing, right? Finalist, philosophy professor, Whitting Creative Nonfiction Grant recipient. Okay, there we go. She is a writer. Best History and Biography, Bad Guys, A Homosexual History by Hugh Lemmy and Ben Miller. So that obviously, I want to read that one. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted currently, but The Dark Queens is definitely sounds like it's one that's up my alley. Anyways, Bad Gays is the top book, and the least liked one was By Hands Now Known, Jim Crow's Legal Execution. Of course, that one got the least votes, by Margaret A. Burnham. I want to read that one anyways, regardless of whether or not we do this. Moving on to one of my favorite genres, graphic novels and comics. Heartstopper Volume 4. I gotta read a few more volumes before we're there, but that is the one that won, Heartstopper Volume 4, and then the one that did not win is Thieves by Lucy Bryan? Yes, Lucy Bryan. Okay, this one sounds like it's a whole lot of weird. I love it. So she's woken up in a stranger's bed, doesn't know why she's there. She's in a nest of objects that are not her own. Oh, it also sounds like it's a little gay. Best poetry. Poetry is going to be a hard one for me because I feel like I just don't have the tools in my toolbox to really appreciate and enjoy more modern poetry. I understand how wonderful and moving and interesting it is, but a lot of the time it's kind of lost on me. Now, the few poems that I've tried recently, like poetry books that I've tried recently, they were audiobooks instead of reading them written. So I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to feel about this. But Call Us What We Carry by Amanda Gorman was the winner. And she is the Youth Poet Laureate of the U.S. And then Golden Axe by Rio Cortez is the one that it was the least rated. Okay. Wow, that's a really big gap. 44,000 to 900. Or 700, sorry. We're almost done. Oh my god, thank god. My back hurts right now. Debut novels is the next one. This is going to be interesting because, okay, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I feel like this one probably is going to have a huge mix of different genres in it because this is debuts and that can be any genre. Jackal by Aaron E. Adams is the one that had the least number of votes. What's this one about? Okay, so it sounds like there are black girls going missing in a primarily white town, and then we are following a black woman coming back to this town. I am assuming she's probably going to get caught up in, I think this was a horror, also on the horror, or in either horror or mystery. Yeah, horror. Genre is horror. So, yeah, children who have been going missing in these woods for years, all of them black, all of them girls. Do I know what Lessons in Chemistry is about? No. I like the cover design, though. That's a very, like, that orange is a choice, and they made the choice work. Oh, okay, so it sounds like this is about a woman in STEM. That sounds interesting. Chemistry is in the title, guys. I should have known that. Moving on to the next one, which is young adult fiction. My bread and butter. Okay, so The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes is one that needs to be read. I've been wanting to read a Jennifer Lynn Barnes book for a while, so that's going to be cool. I have the first two books, actually, because I knew this was on the list, and so I wanted to make sure I read the first two so I could read the final book. Oh, yay! A Show for Two is the least voted, though. This one, I believe... Ooh. Oh, okay, so this one I'm excited about because it's based off of Tashi Went to School with Tom Holland, because he went undercover in a North American or a United States, I think it was a U.S. high school, to do work, to like research for Spider-Man, and she wrote this based on that. So I've been wanting to read this for a while. Okay, that is super exciting. Best young adult fantasy and science fiction. This one's not going to be hard. Gallant by V.E. Schwab is the winner, and I was already planning on reading this, as you can see, if I want to read. However, had I been voting, Bloodmarked would have gotten my vote. I don't know what V. Schwab wrote. I love her. She's one of my favorite authors. Bloodmarked was so good, guys. And then least, Violets Made of Thorns by Gina Chen. We're seeing some where they're actually on my want to read now, because we're getting into where I kind of tend to have my home. Like, look at this, like 4, 5, 6, and then 7 I've read. Moving on to middle grade and children's. This is a genre that I really would like to read more of. I'm just really bad at it. Like, really bad at reading middle grade. Aww. The winner of this one was I Am Quiet, A Story for the Introvert in All of Us by Andy Powers, is the writer, and Betsy Peterson is the illustrator. Always make sure to credit the illustrator as well. I'm trying to do that with comics, just because when they're different people. Just because, you know, they don't get as much. And then How to Heal a Griffin by Meg Canistra. Okay, so this looks like we have a kid coming on and they're trying to save their family. Nice. Okay, so that is everything. Those are all of the winners and losers from the Goodreads Choice Awards. Those are the books that I will be reading. Again, like I said, you can have me go deeper in a genre if you would like to see me go deeper. Fantasy and science fiction, I know I'm going to have read some of those books just because I'm doing another project currently that has me reading a lot of those books. Now, the fact that that project has science fiction and fantasy squished together makes me mad, because they're separate genres and they deserve the room to both have 12 fantastic books. But, you know, I'm glad the Goodreads Choice Awards separates them out now, because there was a time when I don't think they did. I could be wrong, though. It could be just thinking of the YA fantasy and science fiction, but those deserve separate categories too, and then we would have an even number instead of 17. So the first video is going to be the first 3 genres that we discussed, and those are fiction, mystery and thriller, and historical fiction. I am assuming it is going to take me the better part of the year, because I have to break it into like 4 separate vlogs instead of talking about all of those books all at once in one vlog. I was going to do 4 genres, but Brianna from 4 Paws and Book thought that would be a little much in one vlog. So we're going to try not to do that. If you are interested in more bookish content from me, today is day 2 of the 12 Days of Margaret. So I will have a few videos coming out with my end of the year content. You can check out whatever the most recent one is right over here. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate it. If you give it a thumbs up, That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!